Hello everybody. What would happen if we give an Xbox to a dinosaur to play with? Well, I don't want to know what will happen to the Xbox. And even worse, I don't want to know what will happen to the dinosaur once someone finds out that the dinosaur actually played with his Xbox. Today, we will pair a dinosaur lens with the Nikon Z9. So please meet the Nikon 800mm f5.6 AD AIS manual lens. This lens is built like a tank. It is full metal without any electronic involved in it. I think it will even survive the end of the world. It measures 65 centimeters in length and weigh 5.5 kilo. Nikon started to produce this model back in 1986 when I was just 3-year-old. Oh my god. And they produced only 3,000 copy of this lens. Just for a reference, this is the 50mm 1.8 G lens. When I have a look at the front element, there we go. Here is the 600mm f4 with 1.4 teleconverter attached to it. So it is now then very comparable to this lens because it's an 840mm f5.6 lens. By the way, weigh also 5.5 kilos. A quick look in the front element. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, can't do it anymore. It's too heavy. So just a quick look at the different part of the lens. In opposite to the 600mm f4 or 400mm 2.8, this lens actually only have one lens hood. Then because it's a full manual lens, we have also the aperture control here that we need to rotate then manually to dial in the aperture that we want. It goes from f5.6 to f32. Here we have the license plate. Here we go. I'm gonna let you. It accepts a standard 52mm drop-in filter. Here we have the focusing ring. It has a minimum focusing distance of almost 8 meters. The focusing ring is quite smooth and easy to rotate. And here we have a kind of a focus limiter. And then the tripod color. One thing as well is because of its weight, it is impossible to hand hold this lens. It is important to have a very good gimbal head. I have here the Wimberley WH200. Once you have a very good support, the lens is actually very easy to handle. On the Z9, this lens is just like any other lens. The only difference is that we have to focus manually and need to dial in the aperture that we want. You can use, of course, the manual mode with or without auto ISO. We can also use the aperture mode with or without auto ISO. And of course, the image also benefit from the in-body image stabilization in the camera. But for that, we need to register this lens in the non-CPU list in the camera. So to do that, just go to menu, scroll down to setup menu, and then go down or up until you are on the non-CPU lens data, and enter there. The lens number is just like if you have several manual focus lens, you can put there the lens number. One is 1, the focal length 800 millimeters, and then the maximum aperture f5.6. Once that is done, just click OK. In contrary to the DSLR camera like the D850 or the D500, the camera will not show the aperture that you use. In terms of image quality, the lens is actually already sharp at f5.6, and it is great. It is very sharp once it's stopped down to f8. f11 is, I think, more or less the same as f8. I did not really see much improvement there. And once you are at f16, f22, start to notice a little bit of diffraction. That's basically it for the things that I can talk about here at home. I'm gonna go out and play around a little bit with this big guy. I learned something unexpected today. While the focus picking is very useful for something which does not require critical focus adjustment, I find it useless, at least for small birds. First of all, the depth of field assumed by the camera to be in focus is much wider than what really is in focus. Even at focus picking sensitivity set to 1. Therefore, even when the bird is completely covered by the focus picking highlight color, it does not mean that the critical focus plan is on the eye of the bird. To make things worse, it is impossible to confirm the critical focus plan because the subject is covered by the focus picking highlight color. I ended up disabling the focus picking feature and tried the old manual way, but that did not help either because the viewfinder has a very high contrast. That kind of tricks my eyes and make the field of focus wider than it really is, which again makes confirming critical focus very difficult, or impossible, at least for me. Something that looked tack sharp on the viewfinder might still be slightly back focused or front focused, but for small birds that matters. But the Z9 still have one more trick in its sleeve, and that is the viewfinder zoom. I find it the best way to achieve critical focus, if of course the subject is not moving too fast. If there is time, once zoomed in, manually focusing on the critical part of the subject is a piece of cake. Here are photos I took with the Nikon Z9 coupled with this 800mm 5.6 manual lens. And while going through them, here are my opinions about this lens. The lens is built for more than lifetime and deliver nice image even on a 45 megapixel camera like the Z9. But that's as long as you manage to properly manual focus on the subject, of course. But for whom is then this lens for? I think it's a collectible lens for people who like to collect camera equipment. But also it's for people who really need the reach and the light from an 800mm 5.6 lens, but with tight budget. However, in this case, better already have a good tripod and a gimbal head. Otherwise, you will still need to fork almost $1,000 on a good tripod support. It's also a requirement to have a good manual focusing skill, because even on the Z9, manual focusing with this lens actually is not as easy as it sounds. And the last requirement is that you should not mind to carry heavy load, because the lens plus the camera plus a good tripod and a gimbal head will easily reach 10 kilos. But are there alternatives? Yes, but they are all more expensive. The closest competitors will be the two Sig monsters, the 800mm 5.6 prime lens from Sigma, and the 300 to 800mm 5.6 zoom lens from Sigma as well. The Nikon alternatives are all a little bit more expensive, but with autofocus as well. For example, all the 600mm f4 lens can be easily turned into an 840mm 5.6 with the 1.4 teleconverter. And any 400mm 2.8 will become an 800mm 5.6 with the 2x teleconverter. And finally, if money is really not the question, then nothing can beat the miraculous baby Jesus 800mm 5.6 FL lens. So that's it for this video. I hope it gives value and info to this old but great lens. And until next time then, bye.